What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. This is our top 10 hottest selling comics of the week, our weekly video series brought to you by PopCultureZone.com. Before we get into this week's top 10 books, don't forget to check out PopCultureZone.com's. Their links are below. Check them out if you're interested in getting your hands on some awesome exclusive and incentive variants at affordable costs, CGC slabs, and of course all different kinds of pop culture items, including toys and statues. And if you're buying raw books, they ship at a flat rate fee of only $4.99. You also do not pay taxes, with the exception of New Jersey. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they still hold a 100% customer feedback rating with over 8,000 ratings this year alone. So again, those links are below to their website and their eBay store. Check them out and make sure you follow them on eBay as well.
Here we go. We're just going to get right into the top 10 hottest comics of the week, if you'll allow us. Will you all allow us? I think you will, because a lot of you know what I noticed, Chris? A lot of them like to, a lot of everybody watching our audience likes to be like, oh, I have 2 out of 10 of those, or what have you. It's definitely a fun game. It's definitely a fun game. All right, here we go, guys. At number 10, we have Daredevil 51, The Origin of Echo. Number 9, we have Daredevil. Number 10, second appearance of Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo. At number 8, we have Sleepwalker. Number 1, the first appearance of Sleepwalker. At number 7, we have Moon Knight. Number 1, looks familiar. At number 6, we have Hawkeye. Number 1, wonder why. At number 5, we have Daredevil. Number 11, the first appearance of Maya Lopez as Echo. At number 4, we have Epic Anthology Presents Sleepwalker, the number 1, first appearance of Sophia Strange. Number 3, we have Animal Castle, number 1. Number 2, we have Spider-Man 2099, number 1. And at number 1, we have Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man 365, the first appearance of Miguel O'Hara, a.k.a. Spider-Man 29 in sneak preview. Why am I yelling, Chris? Why?
Because you're so excited and you just can't hide it. You're about to lose control.
I definitely am. By the way, I just want to give an update on Matt Stadge. He started with the wine, then the port. Now he's finishing with a Guinness Blonde. Good choice. Planet in Arizona has 3 out of the 10. Shut up, 360. Shut up. He has 9 of these this week. He just doesn't have Animal Castle, which basically just came out. Yeah. And Matt Stadge does have 3 out of 10. All right, Chris. An interesting list. You actually like this list, right?
Yes. 4 Hawkeye spec books, none of which I picked because I could have just talked about those books for an hour. So shout out to those books making the list. Loving the show. But there's 3 other books that I wanted to talk about tonight. Shall we get into my third pick?
Drum roll. Do it each and every week. Go for it, Chris. What do you got for your third pick? Drum roll, please. I am a drummer. I do not have a snare drum, though.
Sleepwalker number 1 is my third pick.
Boom.
Sleepwalker number 1. I did a video some months back now about undervalued, affordable number 1 Marvel books. And this was on the list. And people were like, huh, are you punking us? I was like, nah, man, I ain't crazy. Look at this book make the top 10 list. Let's look at what it did. 140% upward trend in sales. Listen, guys. $225 CGC 9.8 high sale. Holy. All right. Here's the thing, though. Yeah, I'm hyping myself up because I talked about this book. Hey, you might want to find it. You can find it in the dollar bins. Maybe find a good high grade for under $5, something. Hey, why not, right? This is why this book is hot. There's a couple things going on. 1, there is a Marvel Legends toy line being released in early 2022. And one of the toys is revealed to have a codename, Sleepy. But get this. There is so much speculation going on around this that people aren't just thinking it's Sleepwalker. There are a couple other characters that people are assuming this to be. Oh my God. That's problematic, right? That's why I'm kind of like, if you can hear me. The other reason is that there's an insider. You know how I feel about some of these insider reports. There is an insider that has reported recently that a Sleepwalker project is in development at Marvel Studios. Okay. Here's the thing. There is no confirmation of this insider's report. It's basically just a rumor by somebody that has, no factual, feasible information. Here's my thoughts on this. I always say, if you're a fan of the comic books, especially Marvel, if you're a fan of Marvel, you read the books, you're educated to the books, you collect the books, you watch the shows, the TV shows, the movies, you can go back to the books and try to put some pieces together and say, what are some things that I could get ahead of the curve? So many people want to wait for these rumors or whatever the case may be. A toy. I mean, come on, guys. Whatever. And then everyone jumps on it at the same time. To the price, right? I didn't even look at what the raw books were doing. I didn't even want to look at that right now. Here's my concern with this. This toy comes out and it's not Sleepwalker. What's that going to do? It's going to turn people away. If this insider has this rumor wrong, it's going to turn people away. We're at a point in time right now where you have to take caution and take heed to all of these variables, because I absolutely believe that Sleepwalker could be a character that is brought into the MCU. Why not? Marvel has so many properties to be used. So you look, hey, it's almost inevitable outside of maybe Paste Pot Pete. I mean, that's one that, poor Pete. You really should be looking at these books, these types of books, before any of this. Oh my God, there's a toy coming out, codenamed Sleepy. I mean, it could be a Seven Dwarf, if all I know. I mean, Marvel is owned by Disney. I don't know, guys. You got, and now if this rumor pans out to be true, though, from this insider, then you have a situation where what's going to happen if we get any more confirmation? The book's going to go up. So if you buy it now and it turns out to be true and the book goes up, well, then you win. So what am I here to tell you? I'm not here to tell you to buy it or to not buy it. Just take caution, because you should have bought it some months ago when you could probably still find a bunch of copies in the dollar bins. But hey, for me, I'm happy it made the list. The reasonings why are a bit sketchy and we have to be careful. So proceed, speculate, and invest and collect at your own risk. I would love to see Sleepwalker in some capacity, some form or fashion in the MCU at some point in time.
Sure. Planet Arizona Comics brings up a good point. Like when Dark Hawk was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 line and his book Spike, that turned out well. I like the Sleepwalker book, and I guess it's I remember picking it up off the rack. I don't have it anymore, but I remember really liking it and just being excited about a new character. You had new characters back then like Speedball and Sleepwalker, the new Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch. Those are like exciting to me because, when I started collecting, you didn't have many of those that Marvel was really pushing, but Sleepwalker was one out of nowhere, I felt like, that they created. I don't know the story behind it, but anyways, so I'm not saying I like it for spec value. I just like it in general is what I'm saying. Who knows? Maybe they will. It would make sense in terms of the kind of mystical side of things, wouldn't you say, Chris? Having a Sleepwalker in the MCU.
Absolutely. And this is even a character that if Disney gets their, guts up or cojones up, they can do something on Hulu to really make this a dark show and bring in another side of the Marvel universe. So
definitely. All right, we're gonna move on to the next book. Before we do, Nerds Being Geeks always ask me every time, what are you drinking each and every week? I'm sorry, I'm finishing off the Thanksgiving stash. This is a shout out to Sith Lordly. It's the Mick Ultra. Okay, don't Sorry, guys, I don't have any more Guinness left, so it's what I had.
I'm drinking my alkaline water.
And that's Trader Joe's brand?
Absolutely.
All right, moving on, Chris. We have another book. We do 3 books each and every week. Let's get to your second book, shall we?
Jeff, you were probably happy when you saw me put this book on the list because guess what? You picked it for your fresh get, and that is Moon Knight #1. Like I was kind of hinting at, Jeff, when you were showing this off, Moon Knight is the man, and I think he's going to be the man for a long time. Let me explain, but first let's look at these numbers. 148% upward trend in sales this week, with the CGC 9.6 hitting $430. It's solid. I know that a 9.8 broke 1,000, I believe, back in October, if I remember correctly. I saw a couple recent ones that were more around the 900 something mark, but still, hovering around that same value. 9.6 through my research over the last couple of months, though, the 9.6 has been moving, which is very interesting because usually as you see different grades move, you see a similar trend where the values of all grades kind of go up. So very, very interesting take. But overall, this book has been moving up, including raw copies. We are getting closer to the Moon Knight series, and people are just getting totally excited for it. And so what I was saying to you earlier, Jeff, was that whether this book has ebb and flow for the short term, I think the book's going to keep moving upward until we get the show. We haven't even got a trailer yet, a full official trailer. We got that little sneak peek.
Yeah, barely anything, which is exciting.
Right. But and just that was just freaking mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
When we get a trailer, anything Moon Knight is going to, people are going to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the show is going to disappoint. I think the show is good. We keep talking about these shows, right? It seems like, how can they keep getting better and better, or doing different things and satisfying us in such a way? I think Moon Knight's going to do that. Moon Knight is a character I really feel that you could put in the same category as like a Wolverine, where, they're a character that was introduced during that era, the Bronze Age era, and has always had kind of like a cult following, but never really got, that type of push and publicity as Wolverine did. And then, though, you know what? A lot of people probably don't even think about, because you look at the X-Men movies pre-MCU era, and I know that a lot of things were happening in the 2000s and whatnot, even with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. We realized that superhero movies can be done, and they can be good movies. Not to the level of MCU, right? But then we had this guy, Hugh Jackman, though. Hugh Jackman, at that point in time, was the guy who said, I'm going to play a comic book character, and I'm going to kill it. And Wolverine really propelled even more as a household name outside of your casual collectors or diehard collectors, but to the casual fans and moviegoers. I think that Oscar Isaac is going to do that to Moon Knight.
Woo, that's a good call, Chris. That is a good call.
And what that's going to do to all of his books 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I can't even put like a number to calculate out there. Like I said, short-term ebb and flow here and there, new floors being met, though, of course. But when we talk about long-term, and remember, this book his books are similar to Wolverine's books, because you got the first appearance, the second appearance, then you got the first solo title or first solo story, and then you got his first solo title right here. And we look at Wolverine, where you have the first cameo, and then the first full in the Hulk 181, then his early appearance in Giant Size X-Men #1, and then you have the limited series in that Wolverine #1 that's been just flying through the roof in and of itself, as all of his bigger books continue to do so. Similar trends going on with all the Moon Knight keys. So this book alone, we're not talking about Werewolf by Night 32 or any of those. We're specifically talking about this book. I do think this is going to be another one as a Bronze Age book still that's going to be a solid long-term investment that's going to keep moving up. That's what I got for you.
I do like 360 here. He says a very bold statement by you, but entirely possible in the hands of Isaac. I'm very high on what they're going to be doing with this series. There are okay, I may be a poser because I got this book, right? I've never been a diehard fan. I've read, throughout the years, I've read Moon Knight. I know his story, but I'm not in the cult of Moon Knight. And Chris, you have to admit, there are some fans that are they're just cultish about their love for Moon Knight. There's nothing wrong with it by any means, but I feel like that cultish kind of vibe, that mentality is going to expand. I can name one person who works for a rather large publication that I'm hoping to get on the show. He's a diehard Moon Knight fan. I know he has a Werewolf by Night 32, no doubt about that. But I agree. I'm excited about all things Moon Knight. And so is like the people at the MCU. That's what they know. They know how popular he can be.
Yeah. And, we often talk about, we know that DC and Marvel have SWAT spit, so to say, with so many characters,
I don't know if I'd use that expression, but okay.
Marvel, creates a Submariner and DC creates Aquaman. DC creates Darkseid. Marvel creates Thanos. I mean, they've done so much, and you see the similarities between, Moon Knight and Batman, so to say, and all these different elements that can say, oh, there's so much here that's within other characters. You can even relate like Moon Knight to some other Marvel characters, like, he's just a playboy billionaire like Tony Stark and all these things. When you look at the complexity of the Moon Knight character, though, in terms of the person, Mark Spector, and the mythos of the Moon Knight mantle and where the powers come from, it really brings in a very, very unique story and setting that I think is, I can't on that level, I can't think of another character that I could put in that same category. And it almost, and again, they're completely different, but for argument's sake, it reminds me in a way to being similar to what SpiderMan was in his era. Because remember, up until that point, even, we had Fantastic Four, we had Hulk, and we know that even then, when the Stan Lee era of the Silver Age of Marvel started, we know Stan had a vision. But it was really in Peter Parker's Spider-Man where that vision came to fruition. And that vision was, how do we take this underwear, spandex wearing, cape wearing, here to save the day, just, this very punctual, run of the mill superhero comic book, and say, we're going to make it relate to the everyday person. We're going to take a young kid that has real problems, goes through real things, death, tragedy, responsibility, all of these things, and flesh that out. And then readers went into that and said, this is something so new and I can relate to it. So again, I'm not calling Mark Spector Moon Knight Spider-Man, but if you look at the history of comic books and characters up until that era and what Moon Knight was when he was introduced, you took a whole nother level of a dive into complexities of a superhero character on top of these deep ancient mythos.
Yeah,
I could go on for days.
On top of the kind of the multiple personality disorder.
Exactly. So
that's unique. That's, it's not something that's really talked about. And I'm not sure how prevalent it is in terms of like mental. I don't know I don't want to say a mental disease. It's not a mental disease or what have you, but it is a mental. I don't know what the appropriate term is, but it's something that's real, something that people do deal with. It's probably rarer than a lot of other things like anxiety or depression, things like that. But it's an interesting aspect to kind of touch upon, especially in a superhero universe. And I'm sure they'll handle it in a way that's respectful of people or anybody that's associated with anybody that does have something like this. So, you know, I don't even, it's not even a mental illness 360. I don't know. Anyways, multiple personality disorder, but it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm excited for that. I don't want to harp too much on Moon Knight #1 because I got the issue and it's going to make it seem like I'm pumping and dumping.
Gosh darn it, Jeff, you and your pump and dumps.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm known for. That's what I'm known for. So, Chris, why don't we move on to your #1 pick from this list this week? Chris, what do you got?
Well, again, I'm going to reiterate. I wanted to pick all the Hawkeye books and just talk about them for 2 hours.
Because you're a pumper and dumper. Because
I am a pump, because I own them all. Just kidding. I don't even think I have any of those Hawkeye books that were on the list. Just being honest. Hawkeye spec books, that is. My #1 book, though, I was so excited. My son ran into the room telling me, "Did you see this? Did you see it?" I'm like, what? No, what is it? And I went and watched it. And it was the little sneak peek of the new Spider-Verse film. And we got an even deeper look into Spider-Man 2099, Miguel. So, of course, his books made the top 10 list this week. My #1 pick was the #1 book on the list. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 365. Now, I wanted to battle between if I wanted to pick Spider-Man 2099, which was the second book on the top 10 list on cover price, or this one. But I picked this one because I really wanted to talk about the numbers and to talk about the controversy over this. Looking at the numbers, after that trailer dropped for Across the Spider-Verse, this book sold 189 copies online only. And that's not even everywhere online. They sold 189 copies in 2 days. 2 days. That's, if you guys don't, I mean, look, in the big scheme.
Wait. Can you say it in 2 days?
2 days.
Wow.
2 days. With a high CGC 9.8 of $540.
Woo!
Now get this. A newsstand 9.8
Woo!
sold for $1,750, best offer accepted. So again, I with my experience with best offers accepted, I wouldn't put that under 1,600 at all. I probably put it closer to 1,700 still with the best offer accepted. And it was from mycomicshop.com. So I know how they work. They're not going to take a lowball offer. So unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. But $540 for, your direct CGC 9.8. So here's the thing. We know, or if you don't know, you're going to know now. This was an anniversary edition that had some snippets of sneak peeks in the back of the book. And one of them was a sneak peek of Spider-Man 2099. But it was a sneak peek of #2 on the list today, Spider-Man 2099 #1. So what does that technically make it? It makes it a preview. All right. So there is this argument of what the first real appearance of Spider-Man 2099 is. And it's not the cameo full necessarily, because if you look at Hulk 180 and 181, well, they're both appearances. They're both official appearances because it's not like a preview or an ad, like Daredevil, 115, where it's the ad of Hulk 181 and you see Wolverine. You don't count that. This is basically a preview. But I've talked about this before. This preview was in a newsstand book. And I don't mean newsstand in terms of it was a book that was on the shelves. It was a priced book that you could buy on the primary market. Whereas previews are a solicited item that are free. Definitely different. Two completely different things. So when you look at the labels of the books, like see how CGC labels this as the first appearance of Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, I think it's because they are looking at it in this fashion. This is a primary market book that was not solicited as some type of previews order form or order book. This is an actual comic book. But there are still some that will argue. So what is it? First appearance, preview, does it really count? In my humble opinion, and nobody's going to be right about this, because this is the problem a lot with comic books. There's no accountability, no entity, no bureaucracy holding these things in stone. But my humble opinion, this is how I would call it. I would call this a cameo appearance. I would call this a first appearance in cameo, or you can even say first appearance in cameo in preview. You can add that there. And I would say that 2099 #1 is his first full appearance. That's how I would do it. And again, why would I do it like that? Because this wasn't a solicited previews book. It was an official bar-coded primary market comic book that you bought off of the shelf. And that's the differentiator, in my humble opinion. With that aside, I have high hopes for 2099. I've always been a Spider-Man 2099 fan. When the run came out in the 90s when I was a kid, I picked them up every month and I read the story. I even read the story a few years back again. So and while we're on the subject, Oscar Isaac. So I'm happy for this character. Again, I would be very cautious with these 9.8s right now, guys. There's so many raw books out there, that you can save some money with and just try to press and clean it and send it in to get graded, hoping to get a 9.8. That goes with Spider-Man 99 #1 too, because similar thing with those prices as they continue to climb.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. A lot of people have differing opinions, especially in the comment section here. People say 2099 is going to jump big. People say that this one's going to jump big. I really don't know where to weigh in on this. I do know, and again, this doesn't, you say, I can't remember what your phrase is. You'll say it after I say it. I do know that the print run is probably very high for this book. But that doesn't mean much about demand. Well, what's your saying? What do you say all the time, Chris?
Yep. Supply only equates to what is available on the market at any given time. So if you have a lot of people going out looking at this book right now and holding on to it, it could still be scarce on the market at any given time. So the only reason you would be concerned is if everyone wanted to unload the book at once and then the market becomes flooded. Yeah. Demand now is above, or excuse me, supply now is way beyond what the demand is, and that's going to deflate the price. And that's what ebb and flow is always about, because in a collectibles market like with comic books, some people that sell and even flip, they always get a dirty looks, dirty names, and it's like dirty, but a lot of people really will hold on to comic books and and they're in their collection. Maybe it's a graded copy and they have it up on display and whatnot. And then maybe they want to go collect something else and they'll sell that book to go get something else. And it's not that they need to hold on to these things for lifelong possessions. And that could fluctuate the market as well, too. There's always in the back of the heads of a lot of people, obviously, when should I sell in order to increase profit? But there's a lot of reasons why people put books back on to the market. But this is a unique situation, similar to Miles, because you have a character coming into the Spider-Verse or these Spider-Verse films in animated form. And in their groundbreaking animated films. And that alone is, people are really buying into it, right? but you most likely are still going to have these characters show up in live action in the MCU, or Sony verse shared with MCU, whatever. So there's a love for these characters inherently, but there's a lot going on in the spec market with the movies and the films and the animations that could still last a very long time, that could keep these books very, very healthy on the market.
It's an interesting time, especially for these books. Also, Into the Spider-Verse doesn't come out till, is it next year? We're going to find out in a hot second.
Next year.
We're going to play the trailer.
Next fall, I think.
We're going to play the trailer. But again, it's an interesting time. But we all know the market will dictate what the more sought after book is.
Well, yeah, with that, again, guys, both of these books, in my humble opinion, are always going to be hot books when it comes to this character. You can't overlook that, because there's always going to be people that think differently. There's going to be those diehard people that are like, I'm not going to argue with anyone. Amazing Spider-Man 365 is his first appearance. I don't care what you say. And then there's going to be people that are like, I'm not going to argue with anyone. That's a gosh dang preview. I'm buying his first real appearance. So both of these books are going to be hot. Like to your point though, Jeff, will they do this in terms of which one wins the race? I don't know. Will they change over time? That's the big question.
Now here's the thing, Tishu, I'm not sure if you're advocating for Spider-Man 2099, the issue 1, but fancy covers are hard to press. Stupid high print runs, 9.8 365s are hard because the holograms are usually scratched. The Spider-Man 2099 was a special cover as well. It was a foil, so I'm sure it has the same issues too. Now, again, I'm not sure if you're advocating. You're probably just bringing up a point, especially how rare maybe 9.8s are on ASM 365. But we shall see. We shall see, Chris. But I'll tell you what. You know what I do know? This is a great top 10 hottest comics of the week.